Mr. Alex Salmon is telling you porky pies if you're somebody who's going for independence for Scotland, because Alex Salmon isn't going to give you independence. He's going to make you a region within the European Union. He's telling porky pies. And if you look at his friends and who he mixes with, he's mixing with some very dodgy people. I'm an Englishman. I've been really brave today. I've come up here to Scotland. But the people are out for all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're Scots or Welsh or Irish or coloured or Muslim or Polish or East German. If you're living in this country at the moment, this regime is after all of us. It's going to chip us. And after you get chipped, you get chopped. Can we prove it? Yes. Ed Balls, Bilderberger. Here's the letter from a Freedom of Information request proving that he went to a Bilderberg meeting. I'll leave Tony to give you the details of what they do. Here's the man in charge of our families and children. I wouldn't trust him with my pet hamster. George Osborne. You all know he's into behavioural economics. Do you know what that means? That means economics with psychology. If we can't encourage you of your own free will to do something economically, he is going to use neuro-linguistic programming, and he's doing it. And if you look at the little photograph here, I know it's not very clear of dear old George, but he's at Demos. And Demos is another think tank created from a Marxist background. And if you're somebody who's interested in the New World Order, it's no coincidence that the O is an I. And Demos is making policy for all three parties. How can that be? All three parties are different, aren't they? No, they're not, because it's the Lib Lab Com. And the man at the moment in the driving seat is good old Gordon Brown. I don't trust a word that man says, but he's going to be replaced by another man I trust even less, David Cameron, the Cabbage Patch man. He does look like the Cabbage Patch, doesn't he? He's not very happy with me. I had a little dicky bird whisper in my ear, and I was told that David Cameron has decreed that people like Brian Gerrish are going to be allowed to do their thing for the next few months. But when David Cameron becomes Prime Minister, he's allegedly decreed that they will legislate to stop us doing what we're doing. I don't think we are going to elect a Cabbage Patch doll to do anything in this country. So I think he's got a shock coming. These people believe they can rob you through expenses and run the world. And this is a document which appeared. It's the United Kingdom Parliamentary Group for World Governance. They can't manage their own affairs. They can steal your money, my money. But boy, they're so clever, they're going to run the world. That's frightening. What's really frightening is they believe they can do it. Now, if you watched Harry Potter, which I have sometimes, but I'm not a fan, it's all about secrets, secret doors. This is a secret door. This is the door into Common Purpose in London, a major international charity that is producing leaders in UK and across the world. And here's their front door. And the thing about the front door is it doesn't tell you anything. That's very odd, isn't it? They are so puffed up with their own importance, they operate behind a door which has just got a no smoking sign on it. This is true, absolutely true. They organise behavioural modification of people across the country, and I'll prove we're talking masses of people. The techniques, you'll have to look it up, neuro-linguistics. If you're using them, you won't know it's being used on you unless you've done a little bit of homework. People's views and opinions can be changed. You will not know it has been done. This is not fairy stuff, this is reality. And this is now being poured through charities, through Common Purpose, through parliamentary pressure groups, through the television and through the newspapers. When you see it, like the chemtrails, when you see it, you can deal with it. Most of you will have seen this. Common Purpose sets up regional offices in each city, little advisory boards, and they go out and recruit more people to join Common Purpose, and they are particularly interested in children. Very interested. They don't tell you they're interested in your child. So as a mum or a dad, you will have to find out what's been going on with your children at school. And you need to know what's been happening to them every day in every lesson. Because there's some very, very unpleasant things going on in schools. And if you think my nice little school down the road isn't involved, I bet you're wrong. This is a rough map. I live down here. This is England. You guys are up here. The red dots are common purpose cells. If they're in a major city, one dot can be up to 200, 300, 400 people. A single dot may be a cell of 10. This map's not up to date because we haven't updated it deliberately because we don't want to give too much information away. The blue dots, which we also have to update, are the good guys. That's you. These are people who are waking up. And me, being a military man, I needed to get it on a map because you don't fight battles from pieces of paper and you don't fight it by visiting websites. You fight it as a picture. And as somebody said, the battle's always on the edge of the map. And that's why we lost part of Scotland. Sorry. Somebody's going to fill me in afterwards. It's okay. Right, behind the door of Common Purpose was the Media Standards Trust, all about freedom in the press. And the media set up by Common Purpose in their offices, linked into, oh, we've got Baroness Kennedy. Do you know her? She's in a bit of trouble. Bankers are in here, massive hedge funds, big political people, very powerful people, with Julia Middleton in Common Purpose. They've recently moved out of that little door, and now they've got big offices of their own. I think that's because we exposed they were there. Now, I've got to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about, and we're in Scotland. If I can just break out of this a minute. Right, this is part of an Excel spreadsheet with Common Purpose trained people. And this is a list of just some of them who did courses around the Edinburgh area. And you knew all these people were there. These people have all been Common Purpose, politically, socially trained. If you say that's my friend, don't worry. It doesn't mean to say they're a bad person. It's just they won't know what's been done to them properly. I don't do theory, I only do fact. So if anybody wants to come and look up a name afterwards, you can do it. That goes down to over 600 names, I think. Do you get the drift? Right, I can also prove that Common Purpose is affecting important people. I don't know whether this guy's moved on now, but I can tell you that Peter Wilson was the chair of the advisory board for one of the local Common Purpose groups. Very important because these select people. Are you the right people to come and join Common Purpose? You don't walk in and say, I'd like to pay £5,000 and do the course. They select you. And they select you by getting you to fill in a little pro forma which gives information about your personality, where you work, what your goals and ambitions are, what you like, what you don't like. Personal psychological profiling. Because when you know somebody's profile, you can work out who are the best ones to subject to a little bit of mind control. This is real. Okay? So you don't just join. People like this man would choose you. What business has a chief constable got to select people to join any organisation? I think he's acting outside his authority. I've used that phrase because Common Purpose encourages people to act outside authority. Do they use neuro-linguistic programming? Yes, they do, because this is a group, and if you can read it, they're operating across England, Wales and Scotland. They're into neuro-linguistic programming, and they're working with common purpose. Evidence. I only deal in evidence. This is another lady helping to train the police. Have you heard about the policeman who didn't want to get on his bike for a photograph because he hadn't done the bike safety course? Did you hear about that? It was in the papers. And you laugh, but it's not funny because that man believes what he says. And that's because somebody's played around with his mind. We've got police talking to us now after these sorts of talks where they will tell you they keep trying to get me to go on one of these courses, but I don't want to go because they are waking up. Religious cults, if I said, come with me, we're going to have a session with the Moonies, you would know there's a problem coming. Cult techniques can be political as well as religious, and they're very dangerous. Here's some more NLP. You've got to do the research and look it up. Can I prove that common purpose is linked to the EU? Easily. This is one document, and it shows the agenda for a meeting which was working at the EU Commission level. The BBC were there and a whole host of other people, and I won't read it unless I get my glasses on. We have got a visit to the European Parliament. We've got a Professor of European Studies. We've got the BBC European Bureau Office, the Scottish Executive for the EU, etc. So I can prove to you undoubtedly this organisation is connected to the European Union. I thought the best way to do this was to put up a site which was a database site, and this is the site that I run, helped by a guy called Mike Robinson, and you can look up and search on here to see what Common Purpose is up to. You could search by professional category, police, NHS, schools, etc. And you could even go in for areas. I'm talking in the past tense because my site has been blown off by Common Purpose, and I'm going to tell you a bit about that. But when it comes back up, if you go to this site, the latest news comes up here, and you can go through documents and search, and you can look at graduates. There's a tab somewhere here, graduates. Click on that, and the list that I've shown you for Edinburgh, Leeds, and other places will come up. Thousands and thousands of them. Now, Common Purpose is educating people for a common political, social purpose. They are re-educating people not interested in political parties, all dead and gone. We are shortly going to be in the era of appointed representatives. And local councillors in England are already going on courses where they're being told this quite openly. In the not too distant future, there will be no democratically elected councillors. We will have bodies to which you are appointed. And if we look at, what's her name? Ashton, Baroness Ashton. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Who's popped out of nowhere, and she's now in control of a budget of 5 billion, I think it is. This is where these people are coming from. They're selected and they're driven through a system, but you won't be voting for them. Here's the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice linked to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is based on corpus juris, which is the EU system. What does that mean? It means no more juries. It means you are at the whim of professionally appointed judges. Ultimately, you will be under the system of guilty until proven innocent. That's pretty nasty, and that has been slipped in by Mr. Jack Straw and your Mr. Gordon Brown. I'm sorry to throw that at you, and we haven't been told about it. Keep it light-hearted. South of the border, all the English blame everything on you guys, because most of the MPs are Scots. Cameron's claiming to be one. I don't know whether he is.